first, just tell me, how did you end up in this position as the first Golden Bachelor?
It's a fairly long story. It started well before COVID, and I was at a period where I wasn't dating anyone. I hadn't met the good circle of friends that I have now. And so I was feeling kind of down on my luck, and I saw the ad, and I mentioned it to my daughters. They're big fans of the show, and they kind of got me watching the show. And they said, "Dad, you should do it, you should do it." And to my surprise, I filled out the online interview and heard shortly after. I mean, just within the next several days. And then, of course, things went dead with COVID. And lo and behold, when it was announced that, again, it was going to happen, my phone rang, and it's been off to the races since then. That was mid-February, I think, early February.
Mm-hmm. Now, prior to applying for this show, were you thinking about marriage again? Was that something that was important to you?
Boy, it kind of depends on which month of the year you would ask, but I'd go through phases. I'd say, yes, I definitely want to get married again. I was happily married for 43 years. That's a wonderful lifestyle for me. And then I'd go, no, I'm pretty happy by myself.
You've spoken about your wife, and I'm so sorry for your loss, and it sounds like you had a beautiful love story and decades together. What do you think that she would think about all of this?
I have her picture in my closet. I walk-in closet, and it's up on a chest. No one can see it but me, you know, if someone's walking by. And most every morning I would look at the picture and I'd say, well, what do you think? And I'd try to be alone with my thoughts just for a moment. And early on, it was like, ooh, I don't know what she'd think of this. Because I think I still felt as if I was being disloyal or unfaithful. And over time, I got to realize that I think she would be an encouraging supporter. We talked about it when we were alive, that we both wanted the other to be happy if one of us passed. And we established our financial setup that way and everything. So it was, this is the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, you've lived a lot more life than most contestants formerly on the Bachelor franchise have lived.
A lot.
A lot.
Way lot.
And a lot of fans who love the show, they've said, the contestants are too young. They're not actually ready for marriage. They're not mature enough. This isn't what they're looking for. Are they in this for the right reasons, so to speak? That's what Bachelor Nation says, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So now that you are here and you're going to be dating people who are closer in age to you, what do you think the advantage is to that, of having lived all this life and coming at this show with so much more life experience?
Well, that's a good question. Every generation, I think, brings certain advantages to a situation. The more youthful exuberance and energy and so forth. And granted, there's been a negative side with some people thinking that it's maybe the wrong reasons people are there. I make no judgment on that. I have no idea. That's a long ways from me. But what I can say is, when you've lived a long, full, happy, productive life, almost by accident, you gain some wisdom and knowledge. It's like, I know things because I've seen it and not because I've thought it's going to happen. So I think the age factor, whether it's for me or for the women, is a really strong advantage in ways that I don't think everyone sees quite yet. I think there'll be some surprising reveals on the show where that age is such an advantage.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk in Hollywood about ageism, and we don't see love stories, certainly, for people of a certain age. So what sort of impact do you think that you may have?
Well, what I hope, and what actually happens may be different, but the mantra that I always say, and that I try to beat the drum as much as possible, is never give up. If you don't find love in one situation, don't give up. The guy down the street would love to have coffee with someone. Maybe it doesn't blossom into a love story, but it might be great companionship. So just don't give up. Don't sit home thinking you're too old to do it.
In life, good things take time. And this love story is worth the wait.
What sort of conversations have you had with producers or executives about what your season will look like? Because there's obviously a format for The Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I would assume now the Golden Bachelor, but there's got to be things that are different given that you are the star.
Yes, and I've asked many of those questions, and true to form, they've told me that I'll have to live through it to find out. So the curiosity keeps me going as much as some of the other excitement, but I'm going to be surprised just like you when we see the show.
Did you have any say in casting for your season?
I wouldn't want say in casting. My wife's been gone 6 years. Of that 6, I've dated about 4. I wasn't very good at casting for myself, so I'm happy that I don't have that job. I think that the process that they've used in the past and they've refined will bring some really fantastic candidates.
Did you give them any prerequisites for the type of women that you would like to date?
Not very much. I mean, they'd ask several questions, and some of the things that I said were, I'd like someone who enjoys activity, that they're maybe into golf or pickleball or some sport, and they use that to stay fit. There was a general range of age, but not much else. I'm really curious to see what is going to happen on the first night.
What was that general age range that you gave them for the type of women you'd like to date?
I think my answer was this. I think I said 60 to 70, but feel free to blur the lines.
Do you know, are you going to be passing out red roses or is it a gold rose like we saw in the promo?
Yeah, that's not for me to answer. I don't know. I know that there are some icons of the show that are going to be honored, and I definitely embrace that. I would only guess, so I guess I have to stop there and say I don't know.
Now, what has the reaction been like since you have been revealed as the Golden Bachelor? Your photo came out, the trailer came out. What has the reaction been like?
Oh, that's been very fun. So I think one of the joys of doing this, because there's a lot of nervousness, there's a lot of responsibility along with it, the joy is seeing all the people that want to join the ride. And so people on the lake, pickleball friends especially, they've all been extremely supportive, extremely happy. Of course, some of them give me a bit of a hard time about it, but that's to be expected. But here's an example. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I'm down by the lake and I was talking to the couple that was going to watch my house for me while I'm gone. They're gonna water plants, and that kind of stuff. And I hear this squealing and giggling behind me, and there's like 8 or 9 teenage girls running down the side yard with moms, and they stop and they look at me and they go, "Are you Gerry Turner? Are you the Golden Bachelor?" I go, "Yes, I am." Then it was more squeals, and they were the most darling set of girls that I have seen in forever. And we took phones came out of nowhere, and there must have been 10 phones, and they're all taking group pictures and individual pictures and everything. So it was a riot. It was just a ball. And I've had that happen over and over in different situations.
Are you ready for that? For that to keep growing and growing?
I like it.
You do?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I like it.
Okay.
I find it maybe an early reward for the work that is ahead of me.
What do your granddaughters and your daughters think of all this new attention coming your way?
Well, so the funniest thing is my lack of knowledge of social media. I mean, I've never really cared that much. And so they will send me information, and sometimes I read the text and I don't even know what impact it is. I said, well, what does this mean? And so forth. They're very excited. They're thrilled. They send me a lot of positive reinforcement, but some of it I just don't know about.